You have been told that you need more space, more speed, more things, a bigger house, a faster car, a newer phone, the next promotion, the next purchase, the next thing that will finally make you feel like you have enough. Henry David Thoreau built his home for $28, 12.5 cents. He did not inherit it. He did not finance it. He did not ask anyone for help. He cut down white pines with a borrowed axe. He dug a cellar in the side of a hill. He itemized every nail, every board, every hinge, and wrote them all down so the world could see exactly what a free life costs. One room, 10 feet wide, 15 feet long, a brick fireplace at one end, no lock on the door, $28, 12.5 cents. That was the price of his freedom. I have counted what I own too, the square footage, the monthly payment, the things in the closet I never wear, the subscriptions I forgot I was paying for. It never added up to what I was looking for, but I kept counting anyway, kept adding, kept believing the next thing would be the thing that finally made me feel like I had arrived. Thoreau did not build that cabin because he was poor. He built it because he wanted to know what a life actually costs. Not what society says it should cost, not what his neighbors were spending, what he needed, nothing more. He sat down and wrote every number, every plank, every nail, not to be frugal, to be honest, because he had noticed something no one around him was willing to say out loud. Most people have no idea what they are buying. They only know they do not have enough of it. They know the wanting. They have forgotten the question underneath the wanting. What is this actually for? Most people spend their whole lives running on a track they did not choose. They wake up. They go to work. They come home. They buy things they do not need with money they do not have to impress people they do not like. They call it life. Thoreau called it quiet desperation. He wrote those words not as an insult to other people. He wrote them as a confession about himself. He had been living that way too, before the cabin, before he stopped, before he asked himself the one question no one around him was asking. What do I actually need? Not what do I want, not what would be nice to have, not what everyone else seems to have. What do I need to be free? The answer was smaller than he thought. A roof, a bed, a table, 3 chairs, one for solitude, one for friendship, one for society, food from the beans he planted, water from the pond, a fire to warm his hands. That was it. Everything else was noise. I have tried the other way. I have bought the things. I have chased the promotions. I have measured my worth by my bank account and my square footage and the opinions of people whose names I cannot remember. It never worked. The weight never got lighter. The pile never stopped growing. The next thing never arrived with the peace it promised. I remember the moment I understood what Thoreau had found. I was standing in a room full of things I had chosen, in a life I had built, feeling like none of it was mine. That is when his question stopped being philosophy and became personal. What do I actually need? The answer scared me, because it was so much less than what I had. Thoreau discovered something in that small cabin. He discovered that the richest man is not the one who has the most. The richest man is the one who needs the least, not because needing less is noble, because needing less is freedom. When you need less, you spend less time earning. When you spend less time earning, you have more time living. When you have more time living, you begin to discover what you actually want, not what you were told to want. The whole calculation changes. The track you have been running on starts to look like what it always was, someone else's idea of a good life. This is the reframe Thoreau offers. Needing less is not failure. It is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is the only move that puts you back in control of your own time. Everything you do not need is one less hour you must sell. Every want you release is one more day that belongs to you. The man who needs nothing from the world cannot be controlled by the world. Thoreau was not controlled. He lived on 27 cents a week for food. He spent his mornings writing and his afternoons walking. He read the Bhagavad Gita on the shore of the pond. He watched the ice break in spring and called it the most important event of the year. He was, by every external measure, a failure. He had no salary, no property, no career, no status. He was also the freest man in Concord. I have counted what I owned too. The number was always too high, not because I had too much, but because I had confused having with living. I had been adding things to fill a space that things were never designed to fill. Thoreau did not fill that space. He emptied it, and in the emptiness he found room to breathe. You do not need to build a cabin in the woods. You do not need to sell your house or quit your job or move to a different country. You do not need to give everything away or refuse to own anything at all. You need to stop measuring your life by what you have accumulated. Enough is not a number. Enough is a decision. The decision that what you have right now, this room, this breath, this moment, is enough to build from. Not to arrive at, to build from. The foundation does not need to be grand. It needs to be yours. Thoreau did not go to the woods to escape the world. He went to escape the assumption that he had to keep living the way he had been living. The assumption that a man must earn his rest, prove his worth, produce something visible every single day or risk being called lazy. He rejected the assumption. Not by fighting it, by refusing to participate. He walked away from the table. He stopped playing the game. He built a small house on a small pond and discovered that the game had been rigged from the start. You have been told that you need more. That is how they keep you running. That is how they keep you buying. That is how they keep you too tired to stop and ask the only question that matters. What do I actually need? Ask it now. Not tomorrow. Not when you have more information. Not when you finally feel ready. Now. The answer is smaller than you think. The freedom on the other side is larger than you can imagine. And it costs exactly as much as you are willing to stop pretending you need. $28. 12.5 cents. That was his price. Yours will be different, but it will be smaller than you have been told. And the moment you find it, the moment you stop adding and start asking, something shifts. Not dramatically, not all at once. But the track you have been running on starts to look optional. And optional is the beginning of free. I live, not merely exist. I live, not merely exist. I live, not merely exist.